I've never tried modeling in Blender before, and in 7 days I accomplished a lot and spent over 40 hours on it. Just to clarify, these aren't random models. Each model is part of my incredible plan. But before I opened Blender, I did some research. I looked on Reddit for tips on learning Blender, and after spending a few hours, I created my own 7-day plan. I already completed this plan, and now I'll share how it all went. At first, I didn't know where to start, but knowledgeable people explained everything to me. They said a good starting point would be to create a donut. I didn't follow that advice, and as a result, I wasted 2 months of my life. Sorry, but the first sentence is a lie. 2 years ago, I tried to create something, but it was really difficult for me. I gave up and didn't return to it again. Now I understand what my main mistake was. There's only one way to truly learn Blender. Watch, replicate, and create your own. But it's not just about copying the same thing. It doesn't work that way. You can't just replicate something exactly and change only the color. No, you use the same tools but create something different. From this day forward, I watch and replicate, and in the end, I apply all the skills I've learned. I think that everyone would like to edit killer videos or making eye-catching animations in After Effects. The competition for video editors is only going to increase, so in my personal opinion, now is the perfect time to start grow in video editing. If you are new to do this and ready to master the basics, my courses are designed just for you. Simply start with the demo versions. If you are looking to take your projects to the next level, be sure to check out the premium editing products available on my site. These exclusive materials are created to elevate your creativity. For continuous progress in video editing and After Effects, join Render Zone. Render Zone is the spot for guys ages from 18 to 25 who want to level up their video editing and After Effects skills to create killer projects and start making money. With weekly calls, personal guidance, and exclusive pro resources, you'll get the tools and support to grow fast and turn your passion into profit. If you wanna start and not give up, then my community will definitely help you with this. If you have questions, we can solve them. Just book a call and we'll discuss everything. Check it out and start your journey toward progress with me today. I'm excited to help you grow, my friend. Find the links in the description below. The first day was supposed to be simple. After all, it's just the interface, a few hotkeys for finding shapes and, in general, moving in 3D space. Scaling, rotating, and moving shapes. It was quite interesting to do this again. But it wasn't all that simple. On the first day, I encountered confusing about why I kept starting the animation playback. Why was my camera flying off somewhere? Why couldn't I do anything properly? And I understood why. Strangely enough, it was a matter of habit. Unlike After Effects, in Blender, you need to hold Shift and click the left mouse button to move. But I had the constant habit of pressing space and the left mouse button, so I kept playing back an animation that I didn't even have. If you also encounter difficulties but in video editing, then take the free checklist in the description. On the first day, I recalled some of what I already knew and learned something new, like how to search for modifiers, or that if you press 5 on the numpad, you switch between 2 different views. But this was just the beginning, because on the second day, I started modeling, but this time I would do it the way others advised. I began with the most basic skills: modeling, sculpting, and modifiers. The first thing I would make was a donut. Last time I thought, I'm not gonna make a donut like everyone else. That's silly. Now I didn't think that way and got started with modeling. To my surprise, it wasn't a boring task. I really enjoyed how everything was turning out and that I understood it all. I followed each step as shown in the video, and it seemed like I could model any shape. But how wrong I was on the 7th day. This day I created this, and that's where I stopped. Without materials and colors, it looks strange, but I'll fix all of that the next day. My plan is to learn how to work with materials and textures, also ideally to do it correctly, which is the most challenging part. I started with something simple, the same donut. Applying color, tweaking the roughness a bit, a little here, a little there. It all seems easy when you're looking at the right panel and editing only there, but when you open the notes, everything becomes much more complicated. Actually, I had a bit of practice with textures in Unreal Engine, but I hadn't done that much and didn't really understand how it all worked. Plus, it's a bit different. Here you get everything at once. Crazy. I tried to tweak the lighting a bit and moved on to the next project. A brick wall. I was trying to create a nice brick wall that was supposed to look like this. But let's remember my words about how the hardest part is replicating someone else's work. I encountered some difficulties with the displacement map, and I don't think I did it very well. There's also an add-on that allows you to connect all the textures correctly, but to be honest, I didn't quite understand how it works. The fourth day was the most interesting for me because I enjoy working with cameras and lighting. I decided not to overthink it and just added a monkey model. I thought it would be better to see the changes in lighting and the differences between Eevee and cycles on the monkey. By the way, an interesting fact, in Blender there's a monkey, in Maya and 3ds Max there's a teapot, and in the Houdini there is a big head. At first, I followed everything said in the tutorial and how to change the light in the World tab. I changed the materials of the object itself and observed how they reacted to the light. But then I started experimenting. I believe that this is the best way to understand the workings of light and rendering. Of course, basic information is needed, but how will you create your own? So I try to change all these values as often as possible. I love working with depth of field, and this day was no exception. I spent a long time adjusting it because I needed to figure out how it worked, but in the end I managed it, and I liked the results. In this day, I started to understand that my RTX 3060 began to struggle a bit with its tasks, so I give you this advice. In the system settings, check two boxes next to the graphics card and processor. Also set at least half of your RAM, because the loss will be significant. I think I achieved a good result with the lighting and camera. If not, let me know in the comments. Also tell me why Eevee is needed if cycles exists. A couple of years, I was amazed at how realistic animations and simulations could be in Blender. I couldn't understand how to achieve that, so on the 5th day, I decided to figure it out and make 3 projects in one day. To start, I began creating a simple animation of a cube. I had a small issue with the graphs. If you have worked in After Effects and thought that was challenging, well, this is much harder. These graphs can vary so much that if you adjust one, you might not be able to adjust the other because you simply won't understand where it is. It might turn out to be 20 times larger than the previous one. Thanks! And of course, since I was working on animations, I also needed to animate the camera, so I struggled a bit and created a slight movement. Thankfully, I had some experience with this from animating cameras for CSGO edits in Unreal Engine 5. I also started with a blur at the beginning and added it at the end to loop the video. However, after rendering, I abandoned that idea and decided not to animate the depth of fields at all. I couldn't go without lighting, so I set the top too. In the end, I had my first animation for the day. Recently, I saw a video where a guy explained how to create hyper-realistic water, and I decided to replicate that. I would be lying if I said it was difficult because the guy explained it really well. But I would also be lying if I said I understood and remembered everything. If you do it once, it's obvious you won't learn anything for sure, so only practice will give you knowledge that you will never lose. In my case, I just tried to replicate it and ended up with this result. I liked it, so I decided to figure out how to make such shorts. It took me about 20 minutes to grasp how to work with cloth. My idea was simple. I added a monkey model, made it shiny black, and covered it with red fabric. In reality, to create such a simulation, you only need an object or a few objects that will act as obstacle for the cloth and designate them as collisions. This way you create objects that the fabric won't pass through. Oh, and you also need to increase the faces count a bit to avoid this. I got this result. How do I evaluate my creation? The 6th day was the last one. It was the final day I could watch a tutorial on something, so I decided to create a more complex model. I chose a can as my model, on which I wanted to apply the texture of my favorite carbonated drink, Pepsi. And to make it look nicer, I wanted to add some drops. I encountered some issues with the can. Besides having to outline the shape of the can using curves, which wasn't difficult, I also needed to create the top of the can, where there's a lot of intricate detail. In short, it was much more complicated compared to the bottom of the can. I formed the can in 7 minutes, but it took me another hour and a half to finish the top, and that was painful. In reality, for an experienced person, this task isn't that hard. The tutorial lasts only 57 minutes, not 2 hours like it took me. But I had no idea how to do it, and even when I had a clearer picture of what to do, it didn't get any easier. After an hour, I finally finished the can. There was a lot of extruding up and down, but I managed it. Now it was time for texturing. I found a texture that I needed to place on the can. The main challenge with texturing is understanding how to apply the texture and which tools help you with that. You need to realize that you have a mesh to reference, but you also need to go into the right tab to see the mesh at all. At first it's difficult, but after repeating it tens and hundreds of times, everything will start to stick. In the end, I got it to look somewhat like this. Now I just needed to add drops to the can. For that, I needed geometry nodes. That was another issue to set up. While connecting textures can be tricky, understanding comes relatively quickly, but this isn't the case here. In short, I did it as shown in the video and ended up with this result. The final day has arrived, and I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to create. Really, there were many options, but I decided to model my workspace. And guess what? I'm not finished. It turned out to be such a daunting task that I couldn't even outline the room properly. I literally didn't know how to do it. I broke my rule and watched the video. I understood how to do it. But after that, I created a desk, a monitor, a mousepad, and that was it. I made the mousepad, but I didn't know how to create the mouse. I was already thinking of giving up on the experiment because I was struggling again. But since you are watching this video, I finished it. I realized I needed to change my strategy and create something small instead of many tiny objects, which I found I wasn't ready for yet. My goal became to animate my logo. I had no doubt that I could do it, since I know how to create it in 2D, which means I can replicate it in 3D. I combined several cubes into one figure and slightly reduced the cubes that were separated from the base of my logo. For those who didn't know, this logo is directly related to my channel because this icon is depicted on the render button in After Effects. I decided to make a simple animation to definitely complete the experiment, so I adjusted the scale and rotation a bit to create this appearance. Texturing was a bit more complicated. On one hand, I wanted to infuse some of my style and add a glow to the logo, but on the other hand, I wanted to keep it minimalistic. In the end, I went with the first option with glow, and honestly, I didn't like it. It didn't look how I imagined. The 3D space was hardly visible, so I decided to go for a minimalistic style. I made the main texture look like ice and set the background to white. To still keep a part of my style, I added purple light on the left and yellow light on the right for contrast. In the end, I scrapped that option and made some adjustments. To make the cubes look more like ice, I slightly deformed them and added drops. Another 8 hours of working on the lighting and I've done. Am I a good 3D artist? No, but I have definitely started to understand how 3D works in Blender, and I'm enjoying the process of creating again. I've included all the materials, links for modeling, and my final works in the description below. Check out my video editing community where you can only learn how to edit and progress in it, but also make money from your skills. I also have my own store where you can buy digital products for video editing and more. Thank you for watching and see you next time.